I'm here making some truffles, because it is, quite simply, the best chocolate in the world. So I've grated my 100%. I'm going to heat my cream to almost boiling. Put my sugar in. Now, the key, secret thing to do is do not boil the cream. You boil the cream, the fat will start to separate. You'll mix the chocolate in, and then afterwards you'll notice there's a sort of buttery layer on top. Now, I'm going to put that in like that. Now, chocolate's very sensitive, but chocolate's on this scale now in the cream, along the sides. If you reheated that, you're going to spoil it. So I'm going to cool these in the freezer quickly. Quick zap.
My ultimate dream here is to make the finest chocolate in the world. From the finest beans which I grow.
This is a story about chocolate. Not just any chocolate. It's about the very best chocolate in the world and the dream of one man to produce it. All the way from bean to bar. This is the story of Willie Harcourt Coues and his chocolate factory. This is Prescott House in Tiverton, the rented home of the Harcourt Coues family. And this is Tanya and Willie. 12 years ago, they sold everything they had to buy a cocoa farm in South America. And this is their dream, to harvest 1,000 acres of rainforest and to produce the finest chocolate in the world.
We've never had a moment where we've had sack of cacao on every single tree. I mean, it's monumental. This is a good bean.
But it's a dream that will take Willie and his family to the brink of financial disaster as they spend everything they have and get into huge debt.
There's some people might consider me rich here and that this is some kind of folly, but in actual fact, I put my whole life in. I sold my flat in London and I put every penny into this. We put our hearts and souls into this for 10 years. I mean, it hasn't been easy. We don't have a home in England that we own. You know, this is our home. I need the money because I need to balance the books and I've got to pay the workers their annual prestaciones.
There's only one way to do it, and it's his way. I think the first time I laid eyes on Will, I just knew that one day I'd have him.
We're going to take these beans back and we're going to make the finest cacao in the world.
It's an ambitious project and risky business, taking on big and established manufacturers. Willie has come this far by selling everything he owns and getting a big loan from the bank. But many more challenges and expenses lie ahead before he'll have anything to sell. So who else is part of the family?
Take in the middle. Come on.
Sophia, 9, who wants to be a doctor.
Go on, darling, it's fine. You let Evie in. Will, sit down.
Young William, 7, who wants to be an inventor.
Oh, she's a tiger. We're going to be good. Let's go.
And Evie, 4, and yes, you guessed it, she loves chocolate.
What does this mic window?
No, that's... You know what happened?
People.
People, some naughty people smashed my car.
Is that gonna get stuck?
No, it's fresh air. It's kind of new kind of air conditioning.
Window might push it so hard that it might come off and smash into our heads.
Well, darling, that's the sort of scenario that we don't want to imagine. OK, see you later, guys. Have a nice day.
Willie's aim is to create his chocolate from the world-famous Creole beans from his own farm in Venezuela. He'll harvest the beans himself and then bring them back to the chocolate factory he's building in what seems the unlikely location of Tiverton in Devon. To produce a bar made of 100% cocoa and then to invent 100 new ways to enjoy it. From desserts to savouries, from sweets to drinks, Willie's ambition is nothing short of changing the way we think about chocolate.
Let me show you something. This is what it's all about. This is my 100% bar. 100% cacao. That's what we're producing here. This is the base of anything that's made out of chocolate comes from this. I constantly look at things and think, what can I put in? How can I put chocolate in? Can I put that? I just think in terms... It's obsessive. When you're obsessed about something, all you can do is think about it.
But none of this is going to be possible unless the beans are perfect, and while Creole beans are said to be the very best, they can also be prone to poor harvests. Tomorrow, for the first time in 10 months, he's off to Venezuela. If the crop isn't good, his dream could turn into a nightmare.
Will, can you feed the dog, please?
The big day has finally arrived, and it's chaos in the household as Tanya and the children pack for Venezuela.
Come on, what's this? Oh,
That's my fishing kit.
Okay.
I'm definitely taking that.
Has Danny got his rods, aren't there?
Yeah. Do you want to bring your other baby? Or probably only one? Probably only one because it might not come swimming.
It's 5 in the morning. We're leaving for Venezuela. Upstairs, mayhem. Tanya, after telling us all, be packed, be packed, be packed, has just discovered the kids who she left packed their 2 little bags have not got anything in them.
I'm bringing my phone.
You bring your phone, of course. Don't forget your phone.
Hello.
I'm going to make some chocolate spread. I'm going to put in hot water, melt the sugar, put in the chocolate. I'm going to put some jam. I've actually got some blackberries that I picked in the summer that I had frozen, and it's going to be like a fruit chocolate spread. I've got my sugar in the boiling water. I'm going to melt my sugar, dissolve my sugar in the boiling water, and I'm just going to quickly. I'm going to Magimix just to be quick. Basically, they're groggy upstairs, so I'm working on the principle of a little bit of my chocolate's going to make them buzz. And I'm going to bring them down on the aeroplane. Chocolate into the water. I've now made my water syrup. I'm going to stick that in there. And I'm going to stir that in. It's because I grated it, it will dissolve quickly. I'm just going to quickly reboil it because it'll emulsify it. I've lost my... I'm just tired. It's early in the morning. There's my blackberry coulis. In it goes. I can smell the blackberries. I'll pop it into a big pan. I will take all the heat out of it immediately. So, I can hear them pounding upstairs. In a minute, Tanya will shout down, "Get the suitcases!"
You can't come. Come on, out. You can't come. Come on. Ben, come here. Come on. Will?
Okay, that's it. Hey guys, here's some chocolate slices. Come on, let's go. What? I'm packing now. Come on. Go on. All right, guys, don't eat them all.
All right.
This yours?
Yeah, we'll go and pack, darling.
Okay.
It's like 10 minutes to the cab.
Okay, I'm ready.
Willie and Tanya have staked everything they have and more in pursuit of an ambition to produce and sell the best chocolate from the best beans. And the next crucial stage of their mission is taking them halfway round the world. After 24 hours travelling and 4,500 miles, the family finally arrives in tropical Venezuela.
I'm tired though.
I'm not surprised. I can't believe it's taken 6 hours to get here.
No, incredible traffic jam.
Willie and Tanya came across the 1,000-acre farm when they were travelling 15 years ago. They sold everything to buy it and lived here for 8 years before returning to England.
It's a bumpy river.
It's been 10 months since Willie has been to the hacienda, 1,000 acres of lush green jungle stuffed with cocoa.
Look at
You
that,
see,
what a
look at these
crop.
pods.
Yeah.
Look
That's
at
chocolate.
that, man.
Jungle sweeties.
Honk your horn, Daddy, so they know we're coming.
Ricky, the farm manager, and his family have worked on the estate from the very beginning of Willie's dream over 11 years ago. Everyone is excited about the up-and-coming harvest. The beans have to be perfect to kickstart the business.
Come on, Edie, let's go.
This is paradise. This is the sort of place that dreams are made of. The same people who've always worked on the hacienda. The now farm manager that started off here 11 years ago. Even the ex-farm manager still comes and helps out, you know, whenever we have the big crop. And all the young guys who are now much older came here and worked here as kids. I mean, it's just like a big old family. This is a really special moment. You know, this is the biggest crop we've ever had. Maracucho! All my boys think it's some sign of God because we're going to start making chocolate. But we've never had a moment where we've had sack of cacao on every single tree. I mean, it's monumental.
Cocoa only grows in tropical climates, 20 degrees north and south of the equator. There are 2 harvests a year. The beans are removed from the pod, left to ferment, which is critical for the development of the flavour, then dried, roasted, shelled, and finally ground. This produces cocoa liquor, which is the beginning of all chocolate. You add milk and sugar to turn it into a chocolate bar.
This is a cocoa pod. It's a mazorca. And these are the cocoa beans before they've been dried. And they look like this, all white. And this is a sort of pith on the outside that drops off. That's, during the fermentation process, it all turns to liquid and seeps through the boxes, and you're left with the seed, which you then dry on the patio. They're called jungle sweeties. The kids love them. That's her happy for the day. You won't see her again. Good girl.
You know, all farming is difficult. You know, you don't make a lot of money in the farming, really. It's the next step that you make the money. Harvest is looking good. You've got a beautiful, what they call barboso, which is the sort of soft mucousy outer layer, which is great for the fermentation. It's looking good. Nice sized beans. It's going to be a good crop. You're so at the mercy of the elements and the climate. There's a constant battle against the elements, really, and you can be taken out any time and have no crop at all. I mean, one year we had a pest where there was billions of caterpillars. There were so many that when they died, they hung from the trees rotting and smelt like dead animals. And then another year we had a fly which laid its eggs, a little butterfly which laid its eggs in the pods, you know, and made the pod go bad. And in that year we buried the whole crop. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's hot, I'm hungry, he's hungry, and there's a glut of tomatoes, and we're gonna make gazpacho. Right, so I'm gonna roast some peppers, de-seed them. You hungry, yeah? Hambre? Bastante. You know, what I love cooking with Ricardo is he loves all these new flavors. Nothing like a little bit of gazpacho. Okay, get that. Pop that on there. Okay, so I'm just going to put this board down here and squash those peppers down. I'll de-seed my tomatoes. Let's get some cilantro. Vamos a buscar cilantro, okay? Búscame un pedazo de cilantro, okay? I'm taking out the center of the tomato and the seeds because they're bitty, and I want a nice, smooth texture. Hey, Ricky. Okay, now that's cilantro. Let's have a look at that. Now that's it. That's what we're looking. You know, we want some herbs. You know, we get what's ready available. Una cebolla, por favor. Okay. So now my onion is going to add that little bit of tang. I'll put about that in. Right. Get myself a little cucumber. Now, a cucumber will make it nice and cool. There's always something about a cucumber, but that's a big cucumber, so I reckon probably 3/4 of it will be enough. Okay, and I'm going to de-seed this cucumber as well because we just want a real smooth gazpacho. Right, so I've done that stage, and now I'm going to blend all that together. Yeah, Ricky, tu podia poner su ropas mejor, no? You could have put on some good clothes, huh? Next time, come better dressed, no? I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in there. Now let's have a look at those peppers, Ricardo. Let's put them in. They're nice. Let me have a look. Nice, yeah. They're going to add a really nice, sweet little bit of flavour to our gazpacho. It adds body and flavour. And the caramelised sugar and the smoky flavours, they'll just come through. Okay, so I'm going to make a little syrup now, vinegar, some sugar, and I'm going to add some pure cacao, which is going to add some flavour. It's like a condiment, really. So a little 3 tablespoons of vinegar. And now let's have some grated chocolate, Ricky. Come on. Vamos. I've got 3 tablespoons of vinegar. I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of sugar, raw sugar from San Pablo. I'm going to melt some chocolate into my vinegar and sugar solution to make a syrup so I can put it into the gazpacho mix. Let's get a little 3, no, just pon in la mesa, okay? Got a little 3 tablespoons of chocolate. So as soon as it's melted, I'm going to put it straight in. There we go. And I'm going to whiz it up. Oh, and that adds a nice little bit of colour, a little bit of depth of colour. Right. Now that really is. You can't taste its chocolate, it's just added some body. What do you think, Ricky? ¿Qué piensas? Oh, Brian, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Now, when I see Ricardo's face like that, I know it's good stuff, man, because he's spat some of my food out in his time.
Mucho, ¿no? Dame un poquito.
The family will stay in Venezuela for a month so that Willy can oversee the harvesting, fermentation and drying of the beans. It's essential that he secures all the beans he needs for the factory he's building back in Tiverton before he can make arrangements to ship them back there and then return home himself.
Tilio! Ricardo! Just going to put the cocoa out into the patio. They're getting dry now, and they're looking really good. We've had some good sun, and that's perfect drying. The way we'll know it when it's dry is we'll weigh it, put it out in the sun, and then put it back on the weighing scales in the evening, and if there's no weight loss, it's done. So basically, I'm going to make some 100% pure cacao, and I'm going to roast the beans, I'm going to shell them, and I'm going to grind them. And, you know, one of my favourite ways of telling the flavour notes of the beans is to make it into a chocolate bar. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to give a light roast because they're Creole beans. And then I'll shell them by crushing them, and then I'll drop them in front of a fan, and the shell will blow away. I'll be left with the cocoa nibs then, and I'll grind them. Darling, what's your name? Willy Wonka's your name. You're Evie Wonka.
Like that?
Like that, darling. This is separating the shell from the bean.
It might not seem like high-tech in the jungle, but this is largely the process that Willy will use on a larger scale back at the factory in Tiverton. Only by tasting a 100% cocoa bar will Willy really know if the quality of the beans is as good as he hopes it is.
Puro chocolate, no? Hey! Looking really, really nice. We've got, you can smell the sweet smell of cacao. The butter's releasing really well. For a first run, it's good. The second run, it's going to turn to liquid gold.
This is Willie's first attempt with this harvest of producing the 100% bar,
That is chocolate.
which will be the source of everything he makes for eventual sale to the public. If it isn't magical at this stage, it will feel like a setback to his dream of producing the best chocolate in the world. There's a lot riding on it. 100% cocoa is strong and bitter, so Willie adds some milk and sugar before taking the plunge and trying it out on Tanya.
A bit of chocky I made for you. Try that.
What do you think?
Well, I like it. It's a bit dusty, but it's good. Yeah, it's got a nice flavour.
Maybe it's the texture that just needs to be a bit more... I mean, if you're thinking about people eating it,
Okay.
it's radical.
Well,
It's
all
just a
right.
radical bar of chocolate. It's a bit like our 100% bar is radical, you know. It's not... it's just because you're not used to it, maybe.
Well, one always expects your partner to give you the ultimate support, and it was a bit disappointing. She didn't really like it that much.
I think we can better it, though.
Well,
Don't you think?
okay, yeah, we could better it for sure, but first time round, it's not bad.
He's so excited about the entire project that naturally he takes things to heart. You know, it's everything he does he thinks is fantastic, and most of it is. But again, it's this long journey. He's got to realise when it's not good, you've got to try again, you've got to keep going till you got it.
Well, I like it. I don't know why you don't
No,
like
it's good.
it.
It's okay. It's nothing
I
wrong
like
with
it. I don't
Nothing
know
wrong
what
with it.
you know, your wife is always right until she's wrong.
Yeah, darling.
Some small spice.
What is it?
I know where Dad's chocolate stash.
What is that? A hunk of chocolate or what? You know where Dad's stash is? Well, don't eat the stash of chocolate. It was very difficult raising two children here by myself, almost, you know, and he's a proper worker, Willie. He's out there with the boys all the time, so you've got two tiny children, the dangers and this and that. You don't sleep. I mean, you're terrified. There's a snake in the cot. There's a... Yeah. You're getting a flippy. Evie.
I'll make a hot chocolate for the guys. We're finishing the harvest. It's late in the afternoon. Everyone's put more than an extra day in. It's always a race to make sure we get all the cocoa open into the fermentation box at the same time. You know, otherwise it won't be equal fermenting. And so I said to them, hey, guys, you know, I know what we need. I'm going to make a hot chocolate. It always picks everybody up, takes the appetite away. No one's eaten since 10 this morning, so I'll make a hot chocolate, a bit like I do, and I'm going to put some rum in it, because after 3 o'clock, they consider it their time. And what do they do in their time? They drink. So, now what I'm doing is, my hot chocolate, my favourite recipe, I'm putting in 1 part hot chocolate and 2 parts water with 1 part milk. So I've got a cup and a half of that. Just grab a bit of water. I'm in a bit of a hurry because they're all waiting for me down by the house. Now I'm going to whack a bit of sugar in. I'm going to use the local sugar cane. You know, I'll make it a little bit sweet because the boys love a little sweet. There has to be a certain amount of crazy in me. I'm crazily focused, you know, most definitely, on one thing, and that is doing what I'm going to do, which is harvest my cocoa, put it in a container, and get it back to England. You know, if that's crazy, yeah, I'm crazy because I've bitten off more than most people could chew in a lifetime, you know? So I'm doing 3 huge things, growing it, making it, and selling it, you know? Ya va, yo vengo! I'll whack a little bit of milk in there. 1 part milk. Here comes my secret weapon. It's funny, since I got here, I always spill a little bit of the bottle because it's for the dead, apparently. It's just a funny, superstitious thing, the way things catch on to you. But every time I open the bottle, I spill a bit away.
Yo me la paso borracho, pero mi corazón siente las noches las vuelvo días.
he says it's mundial, world class, because it's the best hot chocolate. It's not the rum.
Yo me la paso raro.
A mix of sun, rum and chocolate fuels Willie's optimism, but with creditors pressing and nothing yet ready for sale, the problems all lie ahead.
Son varios los chubascos que he pasado bajo un puente.
These are the 100% bars we made earlier, and this is what we'll be making back in the UK on a massive scale.
Willie is hoping to sell his product in the form of these 100% cocoa bars, but to do so he has to create a whole new market, which makes those close to him very nervous.
Will? Will, can you give us a hand?
I do remember her saying to me, you know, you better get it effing right. This is the big moment we've waited for. We've sourced our machines, we've come back for the harvest. Now we're going to take these beans back and we're going to make the finest cacao in the world. I'm going to make some black bean and arepas for breakfast. I've got Annabelle here, who's my farm manager's wife. She's been with him for 14 years, and she's been with me for as long as Ricardo has, which is 11, and they've lived on the farm for 6. And the crop is so great that I don't want to stop anybody working this morning. And so I've said to Annabelle that you and me are going to make breakfast. She's going to make the arepas, which are kind of a maize cornbread, and I'm going to make some black beans, which are called turtle beans back in England. Put these peppers in. Now, these are sweet peppers. They're not hot at all, really. We're only just trying to add a little sweetness to it. Some very small. Yes. Yeah? She's made some small ones. I don't know whether the boys are going to feel about that. No, I mean, the Venezuelan food's very good. And the great thing about the arepa is you can put anything in it. I mean, you can put fish, black beans, meat, chicken, egg, and whether it's made into arepas or into empanadas, which is the equivalent of our pasty, or, you know, it's the oil that you fry your things in, everything really comes from the maize. OK, so I'm going to put my black beans in now. I'm going to drop them straight in. I'll just roll them around and look at them. Right, I'm going to put my chicken stock in. Now, the chicken stock, you always get that bit of fat on the top, which I shall scoop off and throw out into the jungle for whatever lucky animal comes along tonight. And then in it goes. Right. Put the top on, and I'm going to simmer for about 45 minutes.
Chocolate, caraota.
A little bit of chocolate. A little bit.
No,
It's gonna ponerle gusto.
Bueno.
It's gonna make the. It's gonna make it tasty.
Bueno.
No, this is good. This is definitely good.
Es el loco, Willy. Nunca hay caraotas con chocolate.
And that's melting straight in.
Caraotas con chocolate.
Carotas con chocolate. You're
No.
learning something from me now,
En
huh?
Venezuela no hay caraotas con chocolate, Willy.
Aquí hay. Here, yes. She thinks I'm crazy. Let's have a little taste.
Okay.
Yeah? Ladies first.
Okay.
Okay.
Está
Yeah.
buena.
Yeah? Yeah? I learnt the arepas from you, you learnt the cocoa from me.
Well, I know, I realise you said that, but, I mean, to be honest with you, today's the day because I've got such a short amount of time, what with the work going on the farm. Well, no, I'm afraid you said that the last time, and that hasn't happened.
I worry about Willie, you know, with all of the business, but I don't really so much worry about him because I know that he's capable. What I worry about is what he has to go through to get to the point where we've got cacao in the right country, the machines are all working. You know, it's a new business, that's the worry.
No, I need the money because I need to balance the books and I've got to pay the workers their annual prestaciones. Well, as you have to pay your own, that's correct. So what about me?
His expertise now over these years is such that he knows which beans to look at, he knows what they are immediately, and if they're really good, he's going to jump on them. Because if he doesn't, somebody else will.
Even with the bumper harvest on his own farm, Willie won't have enough beans to satisfy his ambitions for producing on a commercial scale back at the factory in Tiverton. He also wants to produce different flavours by using beans from different regions. So Willie has to find other sources of supply. But in the jungles of Venezuela, the simplest thing can become a major problem.
You know, it's difficult keeping this place operating, living in England, coming back every 6 months. Things deteriorate, you know, the jungle creeps in, the weather, the elements. From 1 minute we could be beautiful, sunny, shiny. The next minute, within 20 minutes, it could be pouring with rain. You could have a flash flood. The whole river here could flood and it would become impossible to pass, maybe for 2 or 3 days at a time. And then suddenly it could all clear again. You can almost go through a season in half an hour. You know, it's make or break. Will it work, will it won't work? There's an enormous amount of jeopardy in it.
There's times where he has to go off and he's gone in search of the best bean in the world to plant. You know, we sit down and talk about it, obviously, and anticipate that he's going to be gone for 2.5 days. So he goes on Tuesday, he's going to be back on Friday. So you cook a little dinner, you're expecting your husband back, and he doesn't come. It's not unusual because, you know, you can get delayed in Venezuela trying to find a screwdriver. Then another day goes by and you think, Christ, you know, I wonder if he's okay. And another day goes by and you start to think, you know, you've done that journey before and you know there's 6 rivers to cross as he goes across Venezuela to this particular area. And then another day goes by and, of course, there's no phone or anything. There's no body, no message. Nobody knows where Will is. You're not going to hear about it until he gets back.
You know, 85% of the world's cocoa is Forastera, which is the bean that's grown mostly in Africa. And the other 15% of cocoa is made up of the Criolles, Trinitarias, and they're the interesting beans. They're the ones with the real flavour. So you're either going for part of that 15%, or you're just going for the chocolate flavour. And I feel to myself, if I persist and persist and persist, you know, I'll get there.
Willie's heard that there's been an excellent crop at Ocumare, which is half a day's drive away. He reckons his own farm will yield him about 1/4 of the beans he'll need for his factory back in Devon, and is looking to buy the rest. But first of all, will the beans be as good as he needs them to be?
Most people wouldn't try cacao at this stage. But I, in my experience in the field, have found that this is the best way to see the quality of the cacao. The smell that's coming off now, beautiful chocolate. Now I can taste the quality of the beans through this. The cocoa butter's been released, and its flavours are coming out. This is a good bean.
Willie has scoured the country and found the beans he needs to supplement his own crop, which is one less thing to worry about. The family are nearly ready to return home, but before they go, Willie and Tanya are going to throw a party to thank all the workers for a great harvest.
Good, darling. A little tired.
While the farm workers start preparing for the festivities, Willie is preparing a special gift for an old friend.
I'm going to make some chocolate brownies this morning for Liberato, my fishing friend. Everything's done here on a favour. You know, he's always looking after me with the good fish. Everyone knows I make chocolate. And I'm going to make him some brownies. The funny thing about here is that people call you what you are. And that's, you know, if you're fat, they call you gordo, which means fat. If you're skinny, they call you flacco. And there's even a Scottish girl who they call Carachibo, which is goat face because she's got long teeth. And I made the mistake one day of saying to her, they call you Carachibo, and she didn't take it like the fat and thin people here. She went berserk. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to melt my chocolate, 250 grams, and 300 grams of butter in a bain-marie. So in goes my chocolate, and butter onto the bain-marie. Now, I'm going to whip together 6 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks. Pop them in. So, I'm going to use raw sugarcane. And it's literally sugarcane juice which has been heated and the water evaporated off until it starts to set. And it's got all its natural flavours and colours in it. There we go. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of flour in. These brownies aren't about flour. I'm going to put in 80 grams of flour. So, in go my eggs. I fold that in. I want to try and keep a little bit of the air that I've created. Right, now I'm going to pour that in. Pour that in there. I'm going to pop it in, and it'll cook for about 25 minutes.
Willie and Tanya lived in this area for nearly 10 years and are still familiar faces around town.
Come sta tu? Chévere, mira. Yo cocinaba una tortilla de allá en la hacienda, ¿no?
When I first met Willie, he was this larger-than-life, sort of eccentric, wild character. You know, beautiful, sexy, cool. Everybody wanted to be with Will, you know, and he'd have parties all the time at his house. He wasn't afraid to cook for everybody before we all could even roast chickens, you know. He was cooking huge concoctions and inviting sort of 20, 30 people around to his house for lunch on Sundays.
Son bueno. Es la macabino.
He's very bombastic about the way he cooks, you know. There's only one way to do it in his way. The kitchen's always a bit of an issue. He drives me crazy all the time. The first time I laid eyes on Will, I just knew that one day I'd have him.
With no time to waste, it's back to the hacienda. 40 people are expected in 6 hours, and Willie's cooking his speciality, junky pig.
Look, you know what I was doing in the oven for cooking the pig? Look what I found. Oh! Don't tread on it, go on, it's on the floor, pick him up.
It's all right, Danny. What's happened?
I didn't mean that to happen, Danny. William wanted him. Oh, OK, darling.
God.
It's big.
What are you going to do?
Well, it's too big for the barbecue, so...
Oh, no.
I think, first of all, I think we cook it in the oven, and then we chop it into 2, 4, yeah?
But what, Willie, you know, people are coming.
Well, I've got to go have a
5
shower,
hours.
man. You know, I need to have a shower and
Piggy first.
Yeah, piggy first. OK, I'll be a couple of minutes. So look at that. That's a beautiful pig, man. Wow.
What did he do to the pig?
What am I doing? Well, I'm making crackling. You know that nice crispy stuff you get on top of pork when you cook it in the oven? You know, I bought myself a beautiful little pig, and we called her Menina, and she was everyone's friend. She was better than a dog. You know, she'd sit. I'd say, Menina, siéntate. And she'd sit. Actually, I do used to do it in English, so no one else could come on. I'd say, sit down. And she'd sit down like a good pig. I'm talking about a 130-pound pig. She'd sit down. She'd sit at you. She'd look at you. She'd smile at you. She tasted everything. She ate.
Beer with us.
She ate. Used to drink beer. I'd stick a bottle of beer in her mouth. Bob, she loved a little beer. Anyway, she started to fight with the mastiffs. They'd have their dog food. She'd go for their dog food, and you'd hear them running on plastic floors like a, you know, the claws going, and they're not moving, you know, because they're trying to get there so fast. So
she had to go, and I said to Ricky, I said, you've got to go. And Ricky looked at me, and even he was like, but, well, she's our friend. And I was like, well, you've got to do it. I can't be here. You're going to have to hit her with a sledgehammer first, so she doesn't know what happens.
There's one more night of partying ahead before the journey back to the harsh reality of business and the British weather. With so much hard work behind them harvesting the beans, everyone is looking forward to the party.
We've got everything in place today for it to be a huge success. We've got the pig, we've got the drummers coming up, we've got some good mates coming up, and it's really important that it works and that it takes off. This is for me and Willie, this is the beginning of our dream.
This is fennel, and I got some salt, and I'm going to rub the pig, basically, on the outside. The marinade I'm going to inject on the inside. So first I shall break up my fennel a little bit, my favourite rock that I found in the river. Hi, darling. What do you think of this pig, darling? Do dead animals bother you?
No. Where's the black pig?
Well, he heard us kill this pig, and so we had to kill him too, just in case he told anybody else. I've got my white wine, apricots. Pop that in. It's going to be hot, man. Hot. I'm going to put some ginger in, not too much. I need some balsamic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pop this back in the pan. Gosh, it's a volcano. Right, I'm going to strain out the larger bits now. You good? Woo! That's not good. That's how hot that is. So I'm straining it now because I'm going to inject it into my pig. I don't put too much chocolate in because the idea isn't, it's just to add a hint, mixed with the ginger, the wine, the balsamic. It's all about the combination. I've got 100 grams there. In it goes. And it's melted now. I'm giving a little good stir to get that in. So now I'm going to inject the pig. So I'm just going gently around, and as I inject, I draw the needle out, leaving a trail of my marinade behind. I open up those cracks, slip in my salt and fennel. You've got to get it into the cracks, otherwise there's no point.
In a roasting hot oven, Willie's junky pig will take 3 hours, just in time for a hungry crowd.
Junky pig! Yeah, you know, now I know that we've had a good harvest. I can't wait to get back. I've got 3 weeks before the beans arrive, and you know, the clock is ticking. It's time to go. You know, we've done this. This is it. The party's over. It worked well. And now, Tiverton, here we come.
cold light of day back in Tiverton, Willie is running into troubles. While most of his plan been going well, the original loan from the bank is fast running out. If he's to go on to realise his dreams, he has to raise a lot more money. But all this time he's been working and planning, he's produced next to nothing for sale. So he needs to enlist the support of his accountant if he's to make a strong case to the bank.
Wives always, you know, their primary concern when you've got kids is to feather the nest, you know. So, yeah, she wants to see some moolah, for sure. It's been going on for a while now. I keep saying to her, imagine you had nothing. Well, we've got nothing. And now imagine, if you can't live with nothing, imagine what it would be like having nothing and no dream, you know. You can't get away from it. You can't think of anything else. You're not even thinking about it, and your mind is thinking about it. You cannot. It's a frightening thing. Tanya doesn't have all the bits of information, although she doesn't even know how bad it is, because I don't tell her all the bits. But the little she does know, it does make her feel insecure. Yeah, majorly insecure.
David Kirkness, Willie's accountant, has been a loyal advisor for many years.
I could make the 20,000 bars. Do you know, I could make them in 2 weeks, the whole lot.
How long would it take you to sell them?
Well, this is $1 million question. I mean, that is impossible to know. You are right.
And that's half a container, so if we're going to be in multiple containers, we've got to sell something else.
They've got to send something, exactly, got to sell something else. You know how deep I am into the bank now. How do you think the bank is going to feel about me before I've even rolled a product off the line, lending me more money?
So what does that really mean?
Well, I need another £30,000.
Lying ahead is some good news as the experts test Willie's chocolate.
The flavour profile is excellent.
Flavour is obviously
what it's all about.
what it's all about, yeah.
But money troubles lead to tension in the household.
You can't even keep the heating on in the house at the moment.
You look too smart. Should I just get a jersey?
Just get in the car, you look great.
We had the bailiffs round a couple of days ago. I'm free on Monday.
Talk to me like a
Because I don't understand, darling, why
This
you're
has to be
talking...
done.
Yeah, but darling, we don't need to discuss that right now when I'm speaking on the phone.
And a crucial meeting. Can Willie persuade the retailers to place an order so he can keep his creditors at bay?
I suppose my nervousness is how do we get the message of its use?
Well, if you want to try out the fabulous chocolate recipes from tonight's show, go to channel4.com/chocolate. Next up, a big movie for Sunday night. Stephen King wrote the story and Tom Hanks is seeing miracles on death row, The Green Mile.